Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Well, Joe, it's time to talk about some hip hop samurais, baby.
Hip hop, a hibbity hop, a hip hop, hibbity hop.
No, I hate that. My brother plays that song all the time. I hate it.
Not good, especially not good when I do something like that. So hello, everyone. Welcome back. Cup of Joe, episode 26.3. The last couple of these .3 eras, the anime editions, we went over whatchamacallit, Anohana, the flower we saw that day. Very good, two-parter, so go back and watch that if you're interested. Good series, would recommend. This week, we are starting something a little bit longer. We've broken it up into 3 parts. So this is part 1 of part 3, where we will go. Let me retake that. Where we will be going over episode 1 through 9 of Samurai Champloo. I have not seen this before, but Joe, you have seen this before, correct?
I watched this over quarantine during the summer. I was like, you know what? I need an anime. I haven't watched anime in forever. I'm like, I want to try and get back on the anime, in the sense of this. There's some intricacies to this because if you're part of the community, you know, there's people who watch anime, and then there's people who watch anime. Like every season when a new anime comes out, they pick a show to follow, or they're always, as soon as they finish a show, they're looking for a new one. Maybe it's an older show, and they're like, okay, I'm going to watch that. And it's just a consistent cycle of figuring out the next show you could watch. I haven't done that for a very long time. It's been very much, maybe I rewatch a show I like, I watch a movie, I check out a new show, nothing too crazy. But for this, I'm like, Samurai Champloo. I'm like, that sounds fucking cool, because I'm a big old lo-fi hip-hop nerd, and this show's got a lot of it.
Starting first, this is something that I want to start off with because I'm very interested on where you stand on this. The OP for this show. What thoughts?
A plus, baby. A fucking plus.
You see, there's this thing called opinions.
And yours aren't valid.
I that's where I'm going. I don't like it.
Boo.
It gives me because I figured, because you're such a fan of lo-fi stuff and hip hop and things like that. Like, I am a fan of that stuff too, but as we learned earlier this week through a poetic text of mine, we view music differently in multiple ways. With this, I don't know, it gives me some sort of vibe. Like, it gives me the vibe of, like, you're watching this and it's 3 a.m. on Adult Swim.
Yeah,
and
that's literally
that's
when it first aired. That's like when it came over.
Really,
Joe, you got it right. You win the $1 million.
I did it. I'm the greatest.
Yeah, this was an Adult Swim Toonami show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely tell that. But just like listening to that opening, I listened to it for maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes, and because like Attack on Titan final season opening, I didn't like that when I first heard it either. But like by episode 3, I was like, hold on, this is actually a banger. And then this one, I'm like, okay, well, let me give it some time. And each time I heard it, it made me uncomfortable almost. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I couldn't connect with it.
The visuals are a little weird, especially the fact that it ends with like Fu staring at you. I was like, all right, whoever decided that, bad move. Like, some of the visuals are pretty cool, but then I don't know. It's very much the same vibe where it's like half of the images from that opening are used as thumbnails for lo-fi hip hop mixes on YouTube.
This is very true. Perhaps even the thumbnail of this is used for stuff like, you haven't seen it yet, but you'll see it in a few days.
Oh boy.
And I guarantee it's probably the thumbnail and like cover for some lo-fi stuff. But yeah, speaking of Fu, I want to name three main characters because I can do that because I'm writing the character names down now, Joe.
All the
so I
names
can
are
remember
short
all this
too.
crap. They are short, gracefully short. You don't have any whatchamacallit, Yukiatsus or Sudokos or Anarus
Or
that are actually just
Ashitakas.
Anjos or Ashitakas. San is short, or Aboshi. Nothing like that. It's snappy, quick to the point. You have Moogan, voiced by Steve Bloom. That's the only voice actor I know. That's all I got for you. You have knockoff Udiyu or Gene, and then you have Fu, who I found out in one of the later episodes is only 15, and is added to the roster of anime characters that you put up there, and you're like, oh yeah, that person's like in their mid-20s, and then you're like, that person is 12 years old, and you're like, I have some files to delete from my laptop. I will be back soon.
Oh man, it's a night. It's a night. Okay. Okay. Yes, Joe. Yes, yes, and also yes. Steve fucking Bloom, man. This is a good dub. This is one of those where this and the Bebop dub are like the two like they're pretty damn good dubs. Again, it's this is Toonami, this is Adult Swim. This is what early 2000s with anime in the US, and it's fucking awesome. Steve Bloom's man. Yeah, Mugen's voice is great, and I mean, how do you want to break this down? Like, do you just want to talk about the first 9 in general? Do you have like an episode to episode breakdown? Like, what Joe? I want you to kind of take the reins on this. Like, let walk me through it, baby. Let me see what you're doing.
Okay, well, I don't want to go through episode by episode because if we did it like how we did with
Oh God, yeah,
Anohana,
good
we'll
point.
be here for like 90 minutes.
I gotta
I'm
go
not
to
gonna do
bed.
that. I just want to. I know you gotta go. I'm trying to be considerate here, Joe. So I'm instead just gonna kind of talk about all 9 as like a full unit, and then I have just some notes about like I don't know, just things that I found funny or weird or whatever in the different stuff. I even wrote like in like the little side of my notes, I was like, okay, EP1 equals Origins, EP2 Ugly Man and Poison. I don't remember what that first part is about, but I remember what the second part is about. Maybe I'll get there. Episode 3 and 4, Gambling. Episode 5, Artiste. Episode 6, Food Competition. Episode 7, Pickpocket. Episode 8, Glasses Samurai. And then episode 9, Travel Permit. So I have little notes to like really let me know about what's going on here. But first thing I want to talk about is just like the overall art direction and style of the show. Because that's also something that I wasn't too hot on in the beginning. But as I'm watching it, I'm slowly warming to it. There's stuff about it that I'm still not that hot on. Like everyone, like it's a very big style in things like anime that I've noticed where you'll have a character that has, you know, a big bulky, I don't know if it's like a cloak or a robe or, you know, whatever it is that they wear or whatever you call it. And then their limbs are these like little sticks that poke out of like these insanely big baggy clothes. Like Moogan is like the biggest I guess comparison or like example of this because like his stuff that he wears is pretty baggy, and then he is like rail thin on every single one of his limbs, and it's crazy to me. I look at that and I'm like, how the hell does he do anything? He looks like he would snap in like the slightest breeze of the wind.
Yeah, Mugen is a fucking horn dog. He is a horn dog trash ball who, oh man, I love him. I love his character because he's so fucking. In the one episode, they talk about like stray dogs. I think it's episode 9 with the warrior priest, and he's a
Yes.
he's a stray dog. He's a wild dog. This character. And I really like his style. I like the way he looks. But I know what you're saying where it's the style of it's a little weird. And I mean, this is the same guy who did Bebop, and I think you could agree that this very much has the same vibes of Bebop. Would you agree with that? Yes, no.
Yeah, I'd say it has the same. It has similar styles or stylistic approaches as like how Bebop does because it whatchamacallit, there is, I'd say there's more of an overarching narrative. No, actually, I take that back. There is a bit of an overarching narrative in this one, but much like Bebop, it only really comes up every once in a while, and it's not really. I guess you could call it the driving force, but it's like the lightest of driving forces, where it's just every episode is basically just a new, unique adventure that our three characters find themselves in.
Yeah. So more comes up towards the end where it's kind of like Bebop with that same sense that basically a very similar story structure where it's like towards the end you get more like quote unquote like canon, like real story stuff.
Plot.
But a lot of this is just the show is building the relationship between the characters, and we have Moogan, who is basically just this like I said, he's this horn dog trash ball who just wants to fight people, cause problems, and is just rowdy as shit. He's basically a troublemaker. And then you have Gene, who is this super sleek. He's got his glasses, and he's a samurai, and he's this very soft-spoken, tough, fast samurai. And then you have Fu, who is a 15-year-old girl who is super loud, super wild, and she basically has to raise herself. And in the first episode, stuff happens where she loses her job, and you find out she doesn't have a family. And basically, she saves Gene, and Moogan is like, "Hey, like, I saved you. You got to return the favor." And they're like, "Okay, what is it?" And she's like, "Okay, you got to help me find the samurai who smells of sunflowers." And they're like, "Okay." But then in like a later episode, they're like, "Wait a minute, like, wait, what the fuck are we doing? Do you have any other clues?" And she's like, no, not really."
Okay, I guess we're just doing this now.
Yeah. And then throughout, and like Joe said, it's throughout each episode you get, it's kind of like Monster of the Week, but I'd say better than Monster of the Week. It's not that like Power Rangers. And you meet these different ones. In the second episode, there's this ugly ogre type of dude, and it kind of follows over from the first episode that there's a guy out trying to get Moogan, and that's kind of the evil guy in that. There's a gang leader in episode 3. There is this whole like Yakuza fight in episode 4. And then episode 5 is the one with the artist, and they're smuggling they're smuggling women to the Europeans. Episode 6 is there's a gay European, because Samurai Champloo is all about them LGBTQ rights. And episode 7
I did not see coming at all. I was like, wait, what the oh, okay.
Episode 7, Ichigo makes an appearance.
That's one of my only notes, and it's the only one I have in all caps because I was so excited.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, Joe's definitely gonna know this. I don't have to. I was waiting for him. I'm like, am I gonna say this? He's gonna be like, oh, I didn't know this. I'm like, nah, he's gonna know that one.
Oh hell yeah!
Episode 8, both of the guys get drugged, and you kind of get an idea of what Gene's backstory is, and basically he killed his master, his samurai teacher, master, whatever, Mr. Miyagi-san. Sensei, yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. And in episode 9, we still don't know anything much about Mugen's past. But in episode 9, they fight some warrior priest. Marijuana is in it. Happy 420, everybody. This is coming out on 4/22.
Two?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
4/22.
Couple days late.
That's fine.
But yeah, these first 9 episodes, there's nothing too crazy. Like, for each episode, I have 2 lines of notes where I'm like, oh, this is funny, this is cool. Some quotes that I found are funny, like the fact that in, like, with the artist, he's like, I'm a struggling young artist. And he's just, like, this creepy, he's like, when he tries to, like, pull down Fu's shirt, he's like, oh, it's all for the sake of the art, I'm not a pervert, I swear.
Yeah, I totally believe you.
in episode 6, when they're having the food competition, the announcer's like, "Oh, it's survival of the fullest."
That was a good line as well. I like that a lot. I also appreciate how whatchamacallit, Gene is the first one to drop out, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course. And then of course Moogan drops out next, even though he was like, oh, I gotta finish this. I got the swords are on the line, man. And then Fu is going at it and just chowing down all the different plates of or bowls of it was like pork and rice or something like that.
It was
I think.
it was eel rice bowls.
Ah, okay. So eel rice bowls that she was chowing down on, and then
The
whatchamacallit.
fly
Did I
come.
write down his name?
Oh, I just have him written down as gay European.
Oh, I wrote him down as Clogs because like
Clogs.
they first show his clogs and then he goes on, yeah. And so I found that funny. I also wrote like Clogs is the best character, yeah, because he just talks like that all the time. And then also in parentheses next to it, he's bi question mark because he doesn't say that he only likes the guy character. He goes to the woman because she's so pretty, and it turns out to be played by a guy. And he's like, what? I like that even more. So he doesn't distinctly say he doesn't like women, Joe. He just says he likes guys more. So I'm like, oh, interesting. Clogs was basically like the most interesting and compelling character out of the entire show for me so far.
Yeah, he was interesting, and it's like, I don't know, like this show, it's a bunch of weird stuff all thrown together. Where you're like, at least for me, these first 9 episodes, I felt the same way I felt when I first watched it. Where I'm like, okay, I'm like, this isn't too crazy. I'm like, besides like the kind of funny moments, the music that I like, because the background music is also like hip hop, and lo-fi. They have a couple like, there's the one guy who's trying to like wow Fu. That's the episode where you find out Gene's backstory, and you got the guy like beatboxing into his sword. And they also have different things where it's like, there's like the undercover cop who's trying to stop the smuggling, and he's like narrating the thing. He's like, I've been hunting this guy down and I'm gonna beat him up. And I'm like, what? Like, there's so many weird things, and you're like, it seems like the show has no path, really. It's just
Yeah.
3 friends traveling to find this sunflower samurai that you're supposed to be interested in.
Yeah, and just a little addendum towards the whatchamacallit, like the samurai cop in one of the previous episodes. I was like, wait, shake weight samurai sword question mark? Because he has the thing and he's like, I don't know when the shake weight came around, but it seems like this predates it, and he's just there and narrating like a fucking detective noir film, and he's just like, I've been scoping out this place for the better part of a year, but everyone knows you got to keep in shape, and that's why. And you see him before you realize what he's doing, and he's just shaking back, and it looks like he's jacking off, is what they're trying to get at, and he's like, I invented this rubber samurai sword that you can just shake around to keep your arms in shape, and I'm just like, wait. You made a fucking shake weight out of a samurai sword?
Did you like how in episode 2, when they run into the pretty lady, um, they just like Moog and her just like go into the woods, like they run into her and it cuts, and then they come out of the woods and they're like slightly getting dressed, and she's like, "Oh, thanks for that." And the first time I watched it, I was like, "Whoa, Moogan, holy shit!" But
I also find it funny
you go.
how it's just like, yeah, everyone, everyone who Mugen tries to get with just poisons him. And I'm like, that's, at some point you've got to learn, You got to just be like, okay, wait.
But if Mugen says no, he's like, there's a chance they weren't gonna poison me.
Right. But I'm just saying you'd probably build up a bit more of I don't know, skepticism, or just be a little bit more defensive around beautiful women who approach you and are all like, "Hey, you want to fuck?" And then he's like, "Yeah, sure." And then he inadvertently gets poisoned, and then all of his money's stolen.
Oh boy, I don't even know. But Joe, I want to ask you, have you watched any further into this show yet?
I have not. Number one, because I have work that I need to get done. We're getting close to the end of that semester there, Joe.
Oh, it's so close.
It's very close, and I need to draw a few, couple, a lot of number of things. but also whatchamacallit, I haven't been like super compelled to like go forward. There's not like that driving plot like in Anohana that's super like dramatic and character driven, and you're always like, oh, what's going to happen? Like every single episode is basically its own contained story, so I don't really feel a point to going that much further ahead. So I stopped at episode 9 and I'm like, okay, next week I'll continue on and do that 10 through 18 stint.
Yeah, I watched 10. I watched 10 and 11 today. And again, well, actually, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it because that's for the next section. But Joe, I completely understand if you're feeling a little iffy with it, because that's how I even rewatching it now. That's how I feel. And I don't know. Maybe I told you that when I watched this the first time, I enjoyed it, and it was something that I didn't mind, that I wanted to revisit, and that there were, I don't know, there was a lot of funny things that I enjoyed with it. But I'm gonna have an interesting time discussing at the end how you feel about this, because like I said, I felt the same way, where you're kind of like, I don't really know about this thing. It's not living up to the hype.
Yeah, because that's definitely how I feel right now. Like, if I were to just stop at these 9 episodes, I'd be like, I don't know, like I saw like just 5 out of 10.
Yeah, nothing
it's
special.
Baseline, like this is fine. Yeah,
There's really nothing special besides the fact you're like, oh, cool. It's like they're using like, they're having like hip hop with like samurai and stuff, and it's kind of funny. Like, okay, nothing that doesn't blow any other anime out of the water, and it doesn't really have that good of a story. And yeah, no, trust me. If I'm looking at these first 9 and I'm thinking about how I felt, then that's how I felt. But like I said, I think things will change as things go on. But
okay.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Do you have any other thoughts with this, Joe?
I'm just going through my notes. Clogs is best character. Yes, he is. Episode 7, Ichigo! I believe Shinsui is the character that he names, that he plays. Everyone Moogan tries to fuck poisons him. Yup, already went over that. And then episode 9, where the good kicks in, and that's the end of my notes. So I'm good with that. That was the first 9 episodes. I'm curious, not overly excited about it, but I'm still curious to see where the rest of this goes.
We get a little bit better action and fighting, I will say, as time goes on.
Okay, I am looking forward to that. But yeah, so with that being said, I think that'll probably end us part 1 of the Samurai Champloo, review discussion. This is what we'll probably end up calling this. And yeah, so be sure, everyone, to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, all that beautiful, wonderful stuff, and join us next week for when we talk about part 2. We see if the good kicks in for us. I'm not talking, I just mean the show gets better. We don't.
Happy 420!
Happy 420, everyone, and bye-bye.